Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. This is To Tell the Truth. I'm Garry Moore. I must admit it's a heck of a way to lead a parade from the back. But like the fellow says, it's what's up front that counts. You can see I'm surrounded by 3 lovely drum majorettes here. Normally, there are 4 drum majorettes with this organization, but the 4th one is going to be our contestant. She's waiting right there, backstage, along with the members of our panel, and we're going to meet them all right after these commercials.
Gentlemen, Garry Moore.
Thank you. Hi, again. Ah. Thank you very much. And I hope that you're as pleased as we are that all this week in our guest panel chair we have Mr. Bennett Cerf. Hi, Bennett.
I'm pleased.
And Bennett, how'd you like that band we got just for you, you know?
Well, I'm used to that sort of thing.
Happens on every show?
Every show.
Oh, what's my line? I thought they had like 1 piccolo and a tissue paper and a comb.
You're exaggerating.
This is your first time on To Tell the Truth.
And I am scared to death.
Oh, come on, you're among friends. It seems incredible to me. I mean, after all, you're one of the originators of the whole panel business. How come you've never been on To Tell the Truth in 20 years?
Well, while we were doing What's My Line every week, we thought that it would be confusing if I suddenly popped up on another show. And besides, I was always terrified that if I came on this show, I'd be confronted with 3 John Charles Dalys. Couldn't have stood that.
Now, let's greet the other members of our panel. We got Bill Cullen down there. Hello, William.
Hello, Garry. Thank you.
I don't have to introduce her. That's Peggy Cass. Hi, Peggy. And another good friend of Bennett's, Kitty Carlisle. Hi, Kitty. So, what do you say we throw Bennett to the lions? Let's go to work and see what happens. Let us now meet our drum majorette.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Kim Smith.
Number 2.
My name is Kim Smith.
Number 3.
My name is Kim Smith.
Okay, and of course the problem is to find out which one is the real Kim Smith, and here is Kim Smith's story. It goes like this. I, Kim Smith, am the head drum majorette, baton twirler, and captain of the Thunderers Musical Corps. I think our band is something special. For 2 years now, in competition with bands from all over the country, the Thunderers have won the title of Grand National Musical Corps Champions. Also, my fellow baton twirlers and I have won over 2,000 individual awards, and I myself have won several state championships. The Thunderers' fame is not only within this country, but international. For some time, we've crossed the border into Canada and played on various occasions there. But our next move is across the Atlantic. Prince Rainier has invited us to play on the Riviera for Bastille Day. Signed, Kim Smith. And Peggy, you seem to be delighted with all this uproarious goings-on. You want to start the questioning?
Yes, I love it. Number 3, where are the Thunderers from?
Basically from Huntington and the northern part of Long Island.
Oh, number 1, in the middle of the... You play at the Giant games ever?
Right.
Thank you. Number 2, don't you get cold in that little outfit you've got on there like in a November day?
Yes.
So what do?
We freeze.
Oh, okay. Number 1, how many Thunderers are there?
There's 110 altogether.
Thank you. And,
Thank you, Peggy. I'll tell you, the baton twirlers I was standing beside right out there, they had goosebumps as big as pineapples. Still smiling, however. Bennett?
Number 1, what makes you decide to become a baton twirler?
Well, I've been twirling since I was about 5 years old. And I started classes when I was around 7. And I enjoy doing it. I get enjoyment out of it, so.
Number 2, did you have to take a course of study to become a baton twirler?
Not really. I took classes. My sister was a twirler with the Thunderbirds when they first began. And I tagged around, and they eventually accepted me.
Thank you, Bennett. And Kitty?
Number 3, how long do you practice? When Garry tried to do his salute with the baton, he nearly hit himself in the nose.
Yeah, well.
Depends on what you're doing. Like, if you have a harder trick, then you have to practice longer.
How long do you practice?
Do you mean as a group?
No, you yourself.
Right now I only practice with the group. I usually don't spend that much time.
Thank you. Number 2, what is the average age of the Thunderers?
Oh, usually around 16, but there are some college students, and there are a few junior high students also.
And number 1, who started the group?
It started out as 16 girls. They were a class for twirling.
Thank you, Kitty. That takes us down to Bill Cullen.
I don't think, I know the Huntington, Long Island group, there are more than one in Huntington, Long Island. Number 1, are you from Long Island, too?
Yes, I am.
Number 2, is there any special training? You say you went to school to become a baton twirler?
No, there were certain camps during the summer that I went to, where they taught you various tricks.
Thank you. Number 3, do they give scholarships to baton twirlers?
In college, they do.
Yes. Number 1, there are 2 famous girls from the University of Purdue who are baton twirlers. They're very well known. Do you know what those 2 girls are called?
No, I don't.
And that does us in for a questioning period. On the basis of what we've learned, we must now vote. And we vote for either number 1, or for number 2, or for number 3. $50 is the cost of a wrong vote, $500 in the event that nobody guesses right. And Peggy, you must start, my friend.
Well, as I was looking at the 3 of them, I used to do this myself. I wasn't very good at it. But I thought number 1 looked like the real one.
Okay, that's 1 for 1. And Bennett, what do you think?
Well, I voted for number 2 because she admitted that she froze at cold events, and by God, I've seen these poor little girls freezing at them. So I voted for number 2.
We're going down the line. It's 1 for 1 and 1 for 2, and Kitty Carlisle.
Well, I want to say I think they're marvelous. I love the sound you all made. It's really very stirring. But I think I'm wrong. I voted for number 3. I think she's probably a ballet dancer, the way she pointed her toe and held herself. But I voted for 3.
All right, we got a tie all down the line. Bill Cullen, what are you going to do?
I agree with Kitty. I think she's wrong, and I voted for number 1.
You think. All right, that's the way it goes around here. Let's find out about it. What do you think there at home? Here we go. Will the real Kim Smith please stand up? 1, 2, 2,
Wow.
1, 3. Good shot, Kitty. Kim, in a minute we're going to put you to work, so why don't you go back and join the Thunderers while I find out about your imposters. You can take your baton, go back and join your friends while we find out about number 1 who got 2 wrong votes. What is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Laura Ferris, and I'm a student at Catherine Gibbs in New York.
Secretarial assistant. Yeah. And number 2, you got 1 wrong vote. What is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Betsy Burr, and I'm a student at the Calhoun School in New York.
Uh-huh. All right, let's get a little advanced look at what's going to be happening over in Monaco. We are proud to present the grand champion Thunderers Musical Corps under the direction of Joe Anderson and Gloria Smith. And thank you, Kim Smith. Thank you, imposters. And above all, thank you, Thunderers, for being here with us on To Tell the Truth. Thanks so much. Well, now we come to a really abrupt change. Our next guest knows a great deal about a very fascinating subject, prisoner of war brainwashing. We'll meet him in a moment as To Tell the Truth staggers forward.
I'm here.
Where we belong, I don't know.
Share the music of love.
And now let's meet our authority on brainwashing.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Keith Douglas Young.
Number two.
My name is Keith Douglas Young.
Number three.
My name is Keith Douglas Young.
Okay, and here is Keith Douglas Young's story. If you'll follow it along. I, Keith Douglas Young, am a former Air Force major and ex-buffalo hunter. In a life always fraught with danger, I have survived 5 plane crashes and 2 shipwrecks. As a military officer, I interrogated enemy prisoners of war and was an instructor of survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. I have been a prisoner of war myself, but I managed to escape. There are 11 ways out of a prisoner of war camp, 8 of which are legitimate. To this day, I dare not return to the Far East in any capacity, as the communists have placed a price upon my head. 1 million dead and 2 million alive. Signed, Major Keith Douglas Young. And Kitty Carlisle.
Thank you. Major Young, number 2. Does brainwashing really work?
Absolutely, it's been proven.
And how long does it take to brainwash
It depends upon the person entirely.
Average.
There's no set average.
Thank you. Number 1, it says here that there's 1 million something placed on your head and dead and 2 million alive. 1 million what?
1 million won.
And how much is that in sort of dollars?
It would be hard to make a translation. I'd say about $18,000.
That's a lot anyway, isn't it? Number 3, can you give me one illegitimate way of escaping from a prison camp?
One way?
Yeah, an illegitimate way. You say there are 8 legitimate ways.
Right.
11 illegitimate, yeah.
Get one of the guards to help you out.
That's not... Number 2, what is a legitimate way?
Well, the legitimate way would be by ransom, either cash or personnel.
And number 1, what is another legitimate way?
I'd say the best way would be to escape.
Is that legitimate?
Certainly.
I see. Number 3, is it not true that most prisoners of war have a duty to try to escape?
That is correct.
In every country?
Well, I can only talk for what I know.
And number 2, did you get out?
I did.
How did you do it?
That's not...
That's not part of the story. You're not going to tell us.
Classified information. I'm sorry. We go on down to Bill Cullen.
I'm interested in the question Kitty asked about the legitimate ways of getting out. There are 8 and 3, I then imagine, which are not legitimate. Number 3, what are some of the legitimate ways, except you get pardoned and they send you home or you die? What are the other ways you can get out?
Well, ransom is one of them, and another one is the breakdown of the prison compound being taken over. And number 1 is an exchange of prisoners. And you go on and on. In other words, there are basic legitimate ways.
Thank you. Number 1, you mentioned you're an instructor of survival invasion resistance. What is that?
The acronym SERE, S-E-R-E, stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape.
Yes, sir. Number 2, are you taught in this survival and resistance, are you taught the manual arts of not self-offense, as it were?
I am an instructor in this program.
What is the amount of money on your head, sir? 1 million what? It was won.
It's 1 million won, which is the value, the currency that's used in Korea.
Korea, the gentleman says, if indeed he is the right one, that takes us to Peg.
Have we established, number 1, are you an American Air Force major?
Hey, who are you talking to?
You, number 1.
Oh, I was.
But you are, in fact, you were with the American Armed Forces.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Number 2, is it legitimate to dig a hole like in the movies and come out on the other side of the fence?
I think that only happens in the movies.
Oh, no kidding. Gee, I thought that was, you got your shovel and went right to work. Well, there you are. Now, Now, about this survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, is that at number 3? Is that a course we teach in the Army?
That is correct. We lecture in various installations around the country.
Huh. Well, survival is to keep alive. What's evasion?
To avoid arrest, or once you are alive, to continue on your merry way.
Well, I hope... Well, now, number 1, what did you do that they put all these quongs on your head?
I would like to evade that question using the number 2 technique by simply pointing out that it's a classified, it's sort of a sensitive subject.
Well, number 2, in other words, what you do was legitimate or illegitimate?
It certainly was. No, I was active in the guerrilla resistance.
He said he was active in the group of resistance is the answer of number 2. Bennett Cerf, you're up next.
Number 1, Major Young, if that's who you are. How did you get captured?
It was an ambush.
Where?
In France.
Behind the lines?
There were no lines at the time.
There were no lines? You mean...
Well, it was a spearheading operation.
Before the
moving
lines
operation.
Before?
Fluid, I think, is the term they use.
Number 2, were you captured before D-Day?
Well, I was in another theater of war. I was in Korea, and my plane went down above the 38th parallel.
Number 3, where were you captured?
I was in Korea, too.
2 of you were captured in Korea and 1 in France. Very interesting. Number 3, Major, are you a West Pointer?
No, sir.
Are you number 2?
No, I'm not. Are you number 1?
No, I am not.
Well, number 3, how did you get to be a major?
Went up the ranks. Got my commission as a lieutenant, and then became a major after due work, effort.
Where did you go to officers training school?
Randolph.
Number 1, could I ask you the same question? How did you get to be a major?
I took my basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and also came up through the ranks.
Number 2.
Okay, Bennett, on that information, we must form an opinion. Who do you think? Is it number 1? Or do you think it's number 2? Or what about number 3? In any event, it's going to cost you $50 for each wrong guess, $500 if none of the guesses is correct. I presume the ballots are marked, and let's start with Kitty.
Well, I'm voting for number 3. I think he looks like a soldier of fortune.
Number 3, and Bill Cullen.
You know, just last week I wandered into a studio that we had booked at NBC, and Gene Rayburn was interviewing this gentleman.
For Monitor?
For Monitor, yes. And I saw him. I spent about 8 minutes looking at the back of his head, and I didn't think it was fair to ask them all to turn around and let me see the back of his head.
You never saw his face?
No, but I did recognize the voice. And it's a fabulous story, and he's an intensely interesting person. I disqualify myself.
So on the fact that you recognize his voice, you got a disqualification?
Yes, I'm sure
okay.
I know who it is.
That's fair enough. And 1 disqualification counts as 1 wrong vote, as always. And that takes us to Peggy Cass.
Rats, because 1 is the most identifiable voice. I bet it's 1. But I voted for 3 because they don't have quongs in France. 1, but I think they have quongs in 3, you know, in Korea. So I voted for quong 3.
Okay. So there are two votes for the quongs on 3. And Bennett, what are you going to do?
Well, I never thought of that. I'm a little bit ashamed now, but when I was a 2nd lieutenant, the best fed men in the place were majors, and number 1 looks like the best fed of these 3 to me. So I picked number 1.
That's why you wanted to know how he got to be a major.
All right, and that does it. So now we're going to find out who's right and who's wrong. Will the real Major Keith Douglas Young please stand up?
Gotta be 1.
There you go, Bennett.
You did it! You did it! You did it! You did it! Oh, that's
Nice shot, Bennett. We'll be back to you, Major, in just a moment. Let's find out about number 2, sir. What is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Don Schwartz. I'm the president of 1 of 5 corporations headed by the Collier Associates Company. We erect high-rise curtain wall, and we're working presently at the World Trade Center.
Nice to have you. Number 3, I'm awful glad that he got 2 votes. What did you find out? What is your name, sir, and what do you do?
I'm Len Miller. I'm a vice president at U.S. Media International. We're a media buying service, and we are the originators of negotiating commercials to be put on the air for you panelists. And so...
Sure you can. Kitty's got something you want to ask the
I
Major.
want to ask the Major, how come he had a price on his head in quongs if he was arrested behind the lines in France?
It's a rather long story. I was in France, I was in Korea, and I recently returned from Vietnam. I've had the 3 wars.
I see. Well, bravo.
So in other words, your prisoner of war ship in France had nothing to do with your activities in Korea, nor nothing to do with the price that was put on your head.
They were the bad guys wherever they were.
Yeah.
The price is still there.
Well, I want to tell you, and it was interesting, Bennett, you said that he was the healthiest looking one. He sat up all night, just got off the airplane just in time to get here. He came all the way in from California. Major Keith Young is a man of many parts indeed. Just listen to this. By writing a simple little poem, he won the Pimm's Cup Lord of the Manor contest and was actually invested at Runham Clears as, what else? Lord of the Manor.
Heard the question, who would you give the $100 to? The taxi driver, the police department, or to yourself?
Did you say Phyllis?
Yes, I did.
What?
I think we have some kind of a first here.
It was your lousy food, Bert.
Tattletales, weekdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Game Show Network.
It's amazing.
Hey, we're running real late. We really got to knock it off. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time. So long, panel.
So long, bye.
Transportation and other considerations provided by Chevrolet, featuring the 1971 Chevelle, America's most popular mid-sized car. New bumpers and grills, same solid, dependable performance at a Chevrolet price. Hotel accommodations, courtesy of Delmonico's Hotel on fashionable Park Avenue, ideal for gracious living. Visit famous Delmonico's restaurant for superb continental cuisine. This is Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production.
Now, stay tuned for What's My Line with Larry Blyden, next on Game Show Network, America's favorite place to watch, play, and win. It's time to...